your number came up. It's time for you to answer the question. This could go almost anywhere.
I got some tricks for you too.
This could be, and it could be very funny.
He
said, I'll have some of this. What is it? And I said, chunky chicken. He said, what are the chunks? They're croutons.
Where I met my husband. Okay? We broke all the rules.
This could go any number of directions. And so I want to know, what was your Continental experience and how does it show up in what you do today? And tell us about all you're doing.
Absolutely shows up everywhere.
You know, it sounds cliched, but I'm sitting there, as I showed you a moment ago, it's like, and this is trying to be in summary and general points, but in many ways, everybody may have said this, I don't know that there's anything I do that hasn't been informed by that.
So without Continentals, I don't know that I would be who I am or would have done the things that I've done because I was taught.
I tell you, I went on that tour and I saw life from a brand new perspective and looked at life completely different because I realized even as a 15-year-old, God could use me to do something amazing.
Really, it propelled me to where I am today. For the last 25 years, I've served in ministry and various pastoral roles, kept my music studio going at home, was a music professor.
It really was a launching point for, kind of my further career.
That's a big question because I feel like my Continental experience has never ended. It's still, I'm still experiencing it.
The Continental experience was by far, the most influential experience of my life, bar none. Continentals was the formative years, I think, for who I became. Mm-hmm. It really did influence everything.
So I had my formal discipleship there, and I had great mentors like you and other directors and staff and leadership.
It shows up in nearly every way possible, and that's not just a line. That's true. Trite phrase to some, but literally a life-changing experience.
It's just amazing how much it has directed and led our life.
It was like practical school for becoming a leader. It helped teach me what I was capable of doing and what I was capable of being.
And that first summer just changed my life, radically changed my life, and changed the trajectory of my life.
For me, Cam was the perfect leader for me. And that was perfect because he gave me creative freedom.
For me, it opened my eyes from Bible Belt Baptist life to a world of incredible perspective on spirituality and what the church is and what we're called to do as individuals.
Really, Continentals back in the 70s for me, it launched my whole career. It allowed me to see what the possibilities were.
I promised to organize the whole project. And then I thought, what if Continentals is something I have been looking for to bring the gospel in a total new way?
I was always afraid that he would send me to some weird country doing something weird for him, and I didn't really want to do that. But that summer, over time, he just really opened my heart to be whatever he wanted me to be and whatever he wanted me to do. And wow. Life has never been the same.
I think a large part of what I'm doing now is because of Continentals. That was just a foundation for me.
Continentals, it's a family. To this day, there's a connection that we have that is so incredibly special. Mm-hmm. So I'm so grateful for the Continental experience.
I never would have dreamed that I would be sitting today talking about the old days, how it prepared me. But it really, really has.
I would say that my 12 tours with Continentals over 10 years did more than anything to prepare me for pastoral ministry.
It opened my eyes to a world that I never knew. But it made me want to be in a ministry.
I was honestly on a path that was probably not going to end well. And by the grace of God, he hooked me up with the Continental Singers. And I can look back at it now and go, that was pretty miraculous.
I don't think I can imagine my life, what it would have been like without my experience with the Continentals. I mean, it's that significant.
God used it to totally change the trajectory of my life. It actually isn't so much about how does it show up in what I do.
It shows up in who I am.
Talk about principles. What are some of the kind of the nuggets of wisdom that you picked up from your Continental experience?
Taping cables in a straight line. Let me think, what else? Every time I walk onto a stage and it's just a mess, I tell you, I revert back. Now we got to tape those down, and we got to use a lot of duct tape. All kidding aside, being disciplined, and I don't know where this came from, but taking it seriously, realizing that what was coming out of our mouths had the ability to impact people's lives.
It would have to come back to what Cam has based this whole thing on, which is if God is in it, you can't stop it. And if he's not, you can't start it.
Two things popped out for me. Continentals gave me experience and it gave me exposure. It gave me experience with leadership and travel and people and all the stuff that were part of that. But then the exposure is also hugely important, at least for me. Exposure to ideas, exposure to different kinds of thinking, exposure to different places and culture. All of that just kind of left a quiet imprint as I grew in leadership and other kinds of things.
Cam Floria taught us how to dream. He taught us to dream big kingdom dreams. And he also taught us that we could do anything. If God calls you to do this, you can do it. So he taught us how to solve problems and to hang in there. No matter what it was, you could find a way to do that.
And he talked about once you're a Continental director, it's just, there's always a way. Any problem that comes up, any situation, it's you just find the way around and you solve it.
There are phrases that I still use. Well, one is from Stemkowski, but I think he got it from Wagoner, who got it probably from somebody else. But it's like, if a man acts like he knows where he's going, people will step aside and let him pass.
I love that the Continentals is not about one person. Right. It's not about the names. It's about the team.
I just went from here in my mentality to here in my mentality.
Right.
So that's what something like that does. It brings great talents all into one place.
When I get an opportunity to teach somebody something that I learned X number of years ago, boy, I'm right on it, because I think that's what it's all about.
My real mission in life and what I was being called to be and do was to mentor other people. And that's played out through my whole career.
That was really a good thing from Continentals, to be able to learn so much and then go back to your church and continue.
Chuck and I have talked through years about the influence of Cam and exactly what Chuck said, the freedom to be a young person and be trusted, that you could not only do what you were being charged to do, but then expected to do it well.
Yeah.
And that sense of excellence on relationships, to recognize humility and know what you don't know. All of that, I think, was a part of Continental training.
It raised a bar of excellence that I never had really been a part of. And I think most folks who grew up in the church or sang in student choir, or really even any type of music in the church, sometimes we fall into the habit of trying to make it as low a bar so it's accessible for folks. And when you find that you raise the bar, folks will jump as high as you ask them to.
Without art, there is no faith. It has something what belongs together.
I think it's related to the Bible verse that without revelation, people will perish.
I think the one principle that has always come back to me is that excellence is more than excellence. Excellence is my act of worship back to God.
Continentals taught me, I grew up singing about God, and it turned it from singing about him to singing to him.
What explains that we had the opportunity to actually sit down and be part of something as 20-something-year-olds? It doesn't make any sense other than that God put you there and that Continental Ministries believed in us enough to say, go, and we trust you with the people we're going to give you on these tours. And we built a lot of faith that God was going to use us in the time that we had.
My intent was, I'm getting so much from Continental. How can I always be on the receiving end? I need to be on the giving end.
Marinating in the presence of the Lord, his word and his working changes a person. And marinating in the presence of the Lord and his people And then in our devotions on tour and interaction and Bible study, it moved me to surrender to him and surrender to his service.
It was in some ways a boot camp for life. I mean, it was that 90 days of intensive boot camp where we didn't own our lives. I mean, we put our lives in the hands of the leadership of Continentals, and all of a sudden, God did what he did. I think that taught me a work ethic that maybe we don't just pick up in ordinary life.
It wasn't really just always about the music. It was like, because I realized that I had this call, I wanted to be, I just wanted to be all that God wanted me to be. And so once I knew about this verse in Isaiah that said, you know, the Lord said, who's going to go for us? I heard that and I said, I'm the one, I'll go. I'm going. Where do you want me to go? And then in Ezekiel, who's going to stand in the gap? I'll stand in the gap. Give me the gap. I'll fill it up, you know. So that was my attitude. I just was driven and pushed into that. I had to do something. I just felt, I tell you what it was. It's like that verse in Luke 12 where Jesus is talking about the talents, you know. The farmer guy gave 1 talent to this one and 2 to that one and 5 to that one. And the guy with 2 doubled his, the guy with 5 doubled his, and the guy with 1 did nothing with his. I was the type that felt, I'm not going to double, I'm going to quadruple, ziptuple, milliontuple. I'm going, man. I am going. And I was on my knees every day. I was praying. I went to every Deeper Life campaign I could. I wanted to be a spiritual giant. I just spent all my time focused on growing spiritually so that I could be the one to fill the gap.
Thanks, Jim, for editing that video. It's so powerful to just think about all the ways that God has used Continental singers to impact leaders literally all over the world, beginning with us. The mission continues throughout the world. There are groups literally all over the world still proclaiming Jesus through music. It's important that we, who have the capacity to help fuel it forward, keep that ripple effect happening. And the way we can do it is to give financially. All of you are considering where you're going to give towards the year-end gift. I challenge you to give towards Continental Singers Global Foundation. Go to the website, click on the donate page, and think about how you can bless this ministry and perpetuate the ripple effect through your giving. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.